You are probably trying very hard to understand things as fast as possible. When you read, you want every sentence to make sense right away. When you watch a video, you pause and replay parts until you feel you get it. When you learn something new, you push yourself to fully understand it before moving on. This effort looks serious. It looks careful. It feels responsible. And most of the time, it feels like the right way to learn. But strangely, the harder you try to understand everything immediately, the slower everything seems to move. You spend more time, you feel more tired, and even after all that effort, the understanding does not stay as well as you hoped. This is the effort that quietly works against you. The effort to fully understand everything right now. You can see it in simple moments. You read one paragraph again and again because one line feels unclear. You stop moving forward, waiting for the confusion to disappear. You feel uncomfortable continuing without clarity, so you stay where you are. At first, this feels smart. It feels like you are being precise. It feels like you are protecting yourself from misunderstanding. But something subtle happens when you do this. Your attention stops flowing. Your mind tightens. Instead of receiving information, it starts to push against it. Understanding does not grow well under pressure. When you force full understanding too early, you ask your mind to do too much at the wrong time. You are asking it to connect dots that are not all visible yet. You are asking it to judge meaning before enough context exists. So your mind slows down, not because you are weak, but because it is overloaded. This is the hidden failure mechanism, trying to lock everything into place before the full picture arrives. Imagine listening to a story and stopping after every sentence to ask what the whole story means. The story would feel heavy, not because it is complex, but because it is unfinished. Meaning often appears after movement, not before it. When you try to understand everything immediately, you turn learning into a series of small tests. Each moment becomes a check. Do I understand this yet? Is this clear enough? Am I doing it right? That constant checking drains energy. You may notice this as mental tiredness that comes very quickly. Not the tiredness of hard work, but the tiredness of holding tension. The kind that makes learning feel dense and slow. This is why the effort feels productive, but gives poor results. You are busy, but not moving. It also explains why this effort feels safe. If you understand everything right away, you feel in control. You feel less lost. You feel protected from mistakes. But that sense of safety comes with a cost. The cost is that you shrink the space where understanding can naturally form. You give your mind no room to hold loose pieces, no room for partial ideas, no room for things that do not make sense yet. And many important ideas do not make sense at first. They need time, they need repetition, they need other ideas to sit next to them. When you demand clarity too early, you often mistake temporary confusion for failure. So you stop, or you reread, or you restart. And over time, this builds a quiet belief that learning is slow for you, that you need more effort than others, that something is wrong. But the problem is not your ability, it is the timing of your effort. Understanding is not something you grab, it is something that forms. When you try to force it too soon, it resists, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to make everything feel heavier than it needs to be. This is why you can spend hours on something and still feel unsure. Not because you didn't try hard enough, but because you tried to finish the process before it was ready to finish itself. There is also an emotional cost. When you expect instant understanding, every unclear moment feels personal. It feels like a sign that you are falling behind. So tension grows quietly in the background. That tension makes it even harder to see clearly. The irony is that the effort comes from care, from wanting to do things well, from not wanting to waste time. Yet it often does exactly that. Slows you down, drains your focus, and turns learning into something stiff and demanding. Understanding often arrives when you stop watching the clock, when you allow things to be incomplete for a while, when meaning is allowed to catch up later. But when you are always pulling it forward, it never has time to settle. If this sounds familiar, there is nothing wrong with you. This is a very common habit, especially among people who value thinking and clarity. The mistake is quiet. It hides inside effort that looks intelligent and responsible. And once you see it, something softens, not because you suddenly know what to do, but because you realize why the struggle felt strange. Not all effort moves you forward. Some effort simply tightens the space where understanding could have grown. And sometimes noticing that is enough to let the mind breathe again.